What if World War III almost started because someone pressed play on the wrong tape? In the late 1970s, the United States and the Soviet Union each kept thousands of nuclear warheads on hair trigger alert. The logic was brutal and simple. If the other side fired first, you might have 15 minutes to decide whether to fire back before your own missiles, your cities, and your government were erased. To make that decision, the United States built an early warning network unlike anything the world had seen: radars, satellites, and computers wired into a hardened command center dug under a mountain in Colorado. Its job was to watch the sky every second of every day and shout the instant it believed the end of the world had begun. But on one seemingly ordinary day in 1979, that system suddenly became convinced that hundreds of Soviet missiles were already in the air, heading straight for North America. Fighter jets moved toward runways, nuclear crews went on higher alert, phone lines lit up between command centers and Washington. The reason wasn't a spy, or a rogue general, or a real Soviet launch. It was a training tape, a piece of simulated data that slipped into the real system and, for a few minutes, turned a practice scenario into what looked like the end of civilization. In those minutes, a handful of people had to decide whether this was the day humanity finally destroyed itself, or whether they were about to start World War III over a ghost created by their own machines. This is the story of how a training tape almost started World War III. Imagine being woken up at 3 a.m. and told, "Sir, hundreds of nuclear missiles are already in the air. You have minutes to decide if we fire back." He reaches for the phone, still half asleep. On the line, a national security aide speaking in a flat, controlled voice that does not match the words. NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, is reporting what appears to be a massive Soviet missile launch, hundreds of warheads, multiple targets, impact in minutes. The man listening knows exactly what that means. If the attack is real, decades of nuclear war planning are now collapsing into a single decision window: launch on warning, use the weapons before they are destroyed, hit back before there's nothing left to hit back with. He also knows something the public rarely hears. Early warning systems are not perfect. They can misread signals, confuse reflections for rockets, and be fed bad information that looks terrifyingly real. In that dark bedroom, he's trapped between two nightmares. If he hesitates and the attack is real, his country may die. If he believes the machines and they are wrong, he may help launch a nuclear war over a ghost. Officially, this whole incident was nothing more than a computer glitch, a brief scare that was caught in time. The story that later reaches the public is neat and oddly comforting. On November 9, 1979, a computer error at NORAD generated false indications of a massive Soviet missile attack against the United States and Canada. Redundant checks, officials say, quickly revealed the truth. Ground-based radar did not confirm any launches. Satellite sensors saw no missile plumes rising over the horizon. Within minutes, analysts recognized that this was a false alarm, not Armageddon. No American missiles were launched. No bombers were sent over the pool. The president was never forced to make an irreversible yes or no decision on ending life as we know it. In press briefings and written reports, it becomes a training tape incident, a technical mishap that embarrassed some officials but ultimately proved that safeguards work and rational people are in charge. The message is clear: the system is fundamentally safe. The glitch was scary, but it was contained. The adults in the room handled it. To understand how a fake war almost became a real one, the story rewinds to a perfectly ordinary day inside a mountain built to survive Armageddon, Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado. Deep under hundreds of meters of rock sits the NORAD Command Center, a fortified nerve center designed to keep operating even if the world above is on fire. On this day, it feels like any other. Operators badge in, trade jukes, and line up for bad coffee before taking their stations. Rows of consoles monitor radar feeds, satellite data, and communications channels, constantly scanning for signs of a Soviet launch. Days, the job is more boredom than apocalypse. False contacts appear and disappear. Weather anomalies confuse sensors. Every now and then, a harmless blip forces a brief investigation, then gets logged and forgotten. Outside the mountain, life is equally ordinary. Kids are at school, people are stuck in traffic. The Cold War is background noise on the evening news. Nuclear war is still an abstract fear, something people see in movies. And civil defense posters, not a real time event on a screen. Somewhere in this routine, a technician prepares a simulation, a training tape containing data for a hypothetical all out Soviet first strike. It is meant to be used for exercises, to test how the system would react if the worst day in human history ever arrived. In theory, that simulation is safely separated from the real world. In practice, that line is about to blur. In a single moment, the screens flip from calm to catastrophe. Hundreds of Soviet missiles, multiple launch sites, impact clocks ticking down. Without warning, the main display fills with what looks like the nightmare scenario. Data pours in, showing missile launches from Soviet territory and submarines arcing over the Arctic toward North American targets. On the screens, it is not a few rogue shots, it is a massive first strike, precisely the kind of attack planners have always feared. Fast, overwhelming, designed to decapitate US command and destroy its nuclear forces. Before they can respond, phones begin ringing, alerts go out, parts of the US nuclear posture shift to higher readiness as commanders start working through checklists built for those final, terrible minutes before launch. To the people in this room, it looks and feels real. The trajectories are realistic, the targeting pattern makes sense, the timing matches what they have studied in war plans and training manuals. What they cannot see from their chairs is that a training tape, a simulation scenario, has been fed into the live early warning network instead of a closed exercise system. The computers are doing exactly what they were built to do. They are treating the data in front of them as reality. And in that reality, the world is already ending. Afterwards, officials insisted there was no serious risk of accidental war, that checks and safeguards handled everything. But inside the system, the story feels very different. As the ghost attack unfolds on the screens, other parts of the warning network refuse to back it up. Ground-based radar that should be seeing missile plumes rising over the horizon sees nothing. Infrared sensors do not detect the heat signatures of dozens of launches. Analysts begin to notice the mismatch. The displays show the apocalypse, but the physical world does not. Slowly, an alternative explanation emerges. The data might be wrong. The attack might exist only inside the machines. Within minutes, the alert is downgraded. The Soviet Union has not launched a first strike. The training tape, the simulation, is identified as the source. No missiles fly. No bombers take off for a one-way trip. The president is never handed the final decision. On the surface, it is a success story. The redundancy worked, human judgment prevailed, disaster was avoided. the incident is filed away as an embarrassing glitch in a dangerous era. But for the people who watch those screens turn red, the memory does not feel like a harmless test. It feels like the moment when a simulated war almost became a real one, because nobody realized the difference in time. If one misrouted training tape could convince the most powerful military on Earth that World War III had already begun, how many invisible mistakes are still hiding inside the systems we trust with our survival?